Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This episode on the Kindness Project, we talk about 80s Retro, Papa Smurf, and the first part of the interview is Saf Nazeer from Helpful Peeps.
I'm joined by Charlotte Dames, who would definitely eat kangaroo bits for charity. Welcome to the Kindness Project.
Wow.
Wow.
I wasn't expecting you to use that immediately the week after. Okay, he's so old, we call him Papa Smurf.
Can we make this week's start of the Kindness Project 80s Retro edition? Because in a couple of...
Can I take my introduction back, because I've actually got an 80s Retro intro?
No, keep it. We'll keep that one for the 80s Retro edition of the Kindness Project. I think we should have one. Because I tell you what I'm looking forward to. In a couple of weeks' time, we're going to an 80s Retro Gaming Festival where we get... I'm genuinely excited about this. We get to play the 80s game Nightmare, K-N-I-G-H-T, Mare, live. That is going to be incredible.
He's a bit excited about this.
Now, if you don't know what the UK 80s, late 80s, early 90s game Nightmare is, YouTube it. It's the most cheesy but also the most incredible game show. And they're doing it live at this gaming festival we're going to in Canary Wharf. So that'd be good.
It'll be good.
And apparently they've got 150 retro arcade cabinets all on free play as well. Nice. So that'd be good. So that's all good. So what was your intro? I forgot about going on my 80s tip and then forgot about that.
He's so old, we call him Papa Smurf.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd take it as a compliment because I could have been Gargamel, couldn't I? Was Gargamel the cat or was the what was the cat? No, I can't remember. I suppose it could have been worse. I mean, you could have picked a number of characters from the 80s cartoon world, like Skeletor, like Burke from Trapdoor.
Can't diss Skeletor.
Like Penfold from Danger Mouse. You could have picked him. Oh, all right, okay. Like Tom and Jerry.
I like Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry are old, though, and they're not really 80s. Like Snarf from the Thundercats. Do you know who that is? No? Okay. So who's your... like Banana Man. You know who Banana Man is. You could have said he's so old he looks like Supergran. You could have said that, but you didn't. You kept it with Papa Smurf, which I really like.
Because that's what we call you.
So are you still feeling hot this week? Because last week you were feeling hot.
Still feeling hot. My song's still stuck in my head.
Okay, and tell me, shall we move on very quickly to question of the podcast?
Stealing my thunder.
Oh, sorry, darling. Do you want to do the try? Stealing my thunder? What you doing stealing my thunder?
Wait, you stole my thunder.
What are you, Zeus?
Question of the podcast.
Okay, this is a real good one. If you were of the opposite sex for a month, what would you choose to do with that month? And Charlotte, I'm asking you, what would you choose to do with that month?
Well, because I provided you with this question from a Truth or Dare website.
You did. What would you do?
I don't know.
This is a really difficult question, isn't it? I'm quite happy to stand as a fella. I'd decide not to change.
Yes, I'm right.
Oh.
I think this is a question I've heard versions of this question. It's like, if you woke up as a boy, what would you do? And everyone always goes, I'd check your pants.
Well, you would. For kangaroo bits, or...
No, it's because, what would you do if you woke up as a boy? And everyone's like, well, I'd check my pants.
Yeah, but what? I mean, this is a weird one, because in what context? Are you waking up as you, but as a boy version? Have you jumped to another boy's body? Have you...
Waking up as an opposite sex version of you.
Yeah, but you come downstairs, and the first thing you do is, scare your parents, wouldn't it? Yeah. But if you came down as a boy, it'd be like, hello, what's going on here? If I came down as a woman, I come down, I'm sitting down for breakfast, I'd just go, all right, good morning, Soph, good morning, Charlotte. Dad, why are you wearing a dress? I mean, that's going to be strange. So something you say to me right now. But the problem is the context. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do anything, would you?
You wouldn't be wearing a dress though, would you? You'd just be wearing your normal clothes.
What, are you saying if I was a woman I wouldn't get the chance to wear a dress?
You wouldn't own a dress.
No, maybe. I might pinch one of mum's, you never know.
If I came down in my normal clothes, people wouldn't bat an eyelash actually if I wore leggings.
Bat an eyelash? Can you bat one eyelash at a time? I don't know whether you could do that.
No,
I'd just bat one individual eyelash.
No, you can't do that. But no, if I came down wearing my normal clothes, the only thing people would worry about is me wearing leggings.
So we can't work out a question that we've selected for our own podcast. We can't work out what context. But feel free to answer the question any way you choose. You know, how would you, dear listener, what would you do if you woke up?
I'd become one of the boys for a month, just like.
One of the boys? Like you go down and watch football and all that business, would you? No, what would you do?
Gaming boys, just like we sit on our Xboxes and play games all night.
Where you'd log into Fortnite and spend all day there, would you? That's the sort of thing you'd do. I love a bit of Fortnite, you know. Have I? No, I'm not. You know, I haven't got enough time to do Fortnite like a sort of somebody who's meant to be educated full time and seems to spend half their life on Fortnite. I've got a business to run, I've got a job, and I'm studying, so I ain't got time for Fortnite. But
time for 5 hours a game.
and I don't do 5 hours a game in a day. And I host a little podcast as well. I don't know if you noticed. Yeah. I log into Fortnite, but because there's people who play, I like games, I'm a gamer, but there's people who play Fortnite who have been playing it for like forever, like sort of they spend hours and hours and hours in that world. Every time I go in, I get shot straight away. So my tactic, I won a game of Fortnite the other day. I've only ever won one. And my tactic was just to hide in the toilet. There's a virtual house with a virtual toilet, and my strategy was just hide in the toilet and wait for someone to come and find me, and it worked.
And just shot them in.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the only game of Fortnite I've ever won, and probably will ever win.
Be proud of yourself.
Oh, cheers. There's people out there who's never won a game of Fortnite. So, okay, cool.
I've never played a game before.
Yeah, you got to play a game of Fortnite to win a game of Fortnite, though. So it does help. Where can people get in touch with us about what they'd do if they were the opposite sex?
Act on a kindness.
Have you secured the domain name at kangaroobits.charity.com?
Or Ola at thekindnessproject.co.uk for the email, and you're on the Facebook.
www.facebook.com/The Kindness Project, or Charlotte's going to set, after our conversation about eating unusual foods last week, Charlotte is tempted to set up a little charity page where people eat unusual foods, including bits of kangaroo, for charity. So, and that's going to be what?
At Kangaroo Bits for Charity.
Have you done that yet?
No.
Oh.
Do it after we've done here.
Oh, you know what? We're giving the game away. Somebody's going to secure the domain name now.
Oh, no.
I bet friend of the show John Cook would love to secure Kangaroo Bits for charity.
I'll get there before.
Okay, cool. So, shall we move on to kindness news?
Yep.
So you're right. You just updating your Instagram while we're trying to do a podcast, Charlotte.
I thought you were going to wait for me.
I wasn't going to wait. We've got podcasts to record. So are you ready to record another episode of
Kindness News.
Or is your Instagram too important? What edition are we on this week?
Ooh. Illness.
It's a happy one, is it? Kindness News illness edition.
I have something on someone who did a this thing for cancer research.
Okay.
Not for cancer, so go on, cancer, you can do it.
Not, we are not in favour of cancer, obviously. We're in fact in favour of the fight against cancer,
Yes.
which cancer research do. Go cancer. research, we think, is the... Go cancer, the end of cancer. Right, go on and tell us about this fight then.
Okay, Sarah Lanson. She was...
It's not as good a name as Carl Mbappe, is it? I mean, we were talking about the French footballer on Kindness News a couple of weeks ago. And last week we were talking about good old Chrissy Lopez. And who have we got this week?
Sarah Lanson.
Yeah.
It comes as an apostrophe in the surname.
Right, if you're... you know what, Sarah? I love you because you're obviously a really kind person, but your name, I can't turn into a old one-hit wonder like Christian. Is it Christian? No. Killian. Right, tell us about your story.
A year ago, Sarah Lanson sat in a heap outside hospital, stunned and crying after being diagnosed with cancer. As she wondered how she would tell her family, she said, "These two amazing souls appeared, scooped me up, gave me a quiet room and a cup of tea, and said, 'You just take your time, we're here if you need us.' She said, 'To this day, the gratitude I feel for that act of kindness and understanding is immeasurable. This is my first introduction to the Cancer Care Centre, and myself and friends have, and are continuing to benefit from this and other services of York Against Cancer.' 12 months later, the 47-year-old is now preparing to join thousands of people in the 2018 Asda Foundation.
Asda, other supermarkets are available.
Supermarkets do cancer research.
Other supermarkets do stuff for charity.
The 2018 Asda Foundation York 10K on August 5th to raise funds for York Against Cancer. The Cancer Care Centre helped by providing practical support such as free minibus to radiotherapy appointment in Leeds, wig clinics, along with small touches which Sarah said were equally important. She said, the sort of support that just makes you feel a little bit better, such as makeup workshops, reflexology, a craft group, and holiday homes for respite. Most of all, the doors are always open for a cup of tea and a chat.
You know what? I remember talking to somebody about the importance of, for people who have got the news that they're suffering from such a
horrendous,
shocking disease. Just having somebody there to have a conversation with, and just having somebody there to guide you through the changes you need to make in your life in them really tough moments.
Yeah, because people are always trying to help, they're always trying to ask if you're alright, but sometimes people just don't understand.
Yeah.
It'd be easier to go to someone who does.
Yeah, but also sometimes I've heard it in the past where people who get ill don't want to worry their family and friends.
Yeah.
So they don't talk about it. So having somebody just to talk to and just to say, we don't know how you feel, but we can understand because we've helped people like you in the past. I think that's really important. So well done to that lady for understanding, going through it. Is she okay now?
Well, she's doing this run in August this year. She says she took up running to help get back to feeling a bit more like me. After being poorly, taking part in a run to raise funds for a cancer charity that's given me so much was an obvious choice.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you for that piece of kindness news. You're welcome. Thank you. We'll try again.
I do this every week, it's fine. I'm used to it.
Thank you for that piece of kindness news.
Oh, you're welcome, Father.
So this week, Charlotte, we've got an interview, one of our interviews.
Oh, who is?
It's a guy called Saf. He runs an online platform called Helpful Peeps, and the platform effectively just connects people, good people, to other good people, just to help each other out. And we talk about how the platform works, the most common way that people are helped, and much, much more. Do you want to listen?
Yes, please.
Today by Saf from Helpful Peeps. How are you, Saf? You well?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yourself?
Really good, thanks. Really good. Enjoying the weather. But as we're recording this the day after England's lost to Croatia, it's not coming home, is it? It's just clearly not.
Maybe another 4 years' time.
Maybe the Euros. Who knows? Who knows? So I saw the reason I asked you to come on the podcast is because I saw your website, Helpful Peeps, and thought it's a really interesting project. It's something I hadn't seen before, and I thought I'd get in touch for you to share it with our awesome audience. So before we start talking about Helpful Peeps, tell me a little bit about you.
Sure. So I'm half Sri Lankan and half Japanese. I think that's quite a unique combination.
Okay.
But I came over to the UK about 15 years ago now.
Okay.
Came over for uni, fell in love with Bristol, and I've stayed ever since. And I'm now a naturalised British citizen. I think did economics and marketing at uni. Went on to do a master's in management, and then pre-Helpful Peeps I spent about 7 years in a corporate sales career.
Okay.
And then kind of left that all behind to start Helpful Peeps, coming up to about 4 years now.
Okay, fine. What made you take the jump in? Because that's quite a brave move, right?
Yeah, I think there are a few contributing factors, but shout out to a TED talk that I watched by a guy called Stefan Sagmeister.
Okay.
Who talked about the power of sabbaticals, and he made a very compelling case of living life in a way whereby rather than working from the ages of 20 to 65 and then taking your retirement, he makes the case for working for 7 years and then taking a year sabbatical.
Yep.
And basically taking 5 years from your retirement years and dropping into your working life once every 7 years. And he says with enough forward thinking, most people in the first world should be able to pull it off. And I was lucky enough to stumble on to that TED talk about 3.5 years into my sales career.
Okay.
Really bought into it. Actually told my mum about it. She goes, "Well, you've got 3.5 years left." All right, okay, cool. And literally almost 7 years to the day, that was my. I had that in the back of my mind. Obviously, a lot of other things happened as well, but almost 7 years to the day, I framed it as a sabbatical, and I took a year out. I was 30 at the time, and basically the story I told myself and my friends and family was that I'm taking a year sabbatical to work on either a passion project or traveling. It was just a present to myself for having worked hard for 7 years and saved up. And I was fortunate to be in a position where I didn't need to work for that 1 year.
Yep.
And that's basically the headspace that allowed me to do something like Helpful Peeps, which isn't quote unquote a practical business.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what made me take the leap and kind of what led eventually to Helpful Peeps.
And then 4 years later, so this sabbatical's lasted a long time, right?
Yeah, so the sabbatical came and went.
Yeah.
And a year later, the original plan was that, right, okay, if we don't make something of it by then, me and both my co-founder at the time, Simon, we dust off our CVs and go and get a job. But a year later, we felt as though we stumbled upon something.
Okay.
It wasn't quite there yet, but we felt like we were onto something, and also we felt like we couldn't let ourselves or our community down. I think.
Yeah, gotcha.
Maybe we had 5,000 members, ballpark.
Yeah.
And we had all this lovely feedback, and it was really well received. That we felt like, okay, we need to make a go of it. And that year sabbatical became 2, and then now we're 4 years plus actually that original journey. Yeah. And we're still here, so it's great.
You know what's interesting? I think you're right. I think the nature of work is completely changing, isn't it? So you talk about those like save all the money and for when you're 60. Actually, like sort of doing stuff when you're going to enjoy it and you're fit and you're healthy and you can try different new experiences makes perfect sense to me. Actually, the sort of mini retirement makes great sense. So tell me a little bit about Helpful Peeps.
Sure. So the premise is really, really simple. We call it a platform for peer-to-peer help.
Okay.
And as the name suggests, it is a platform, so mobile app on iOS and Android, and a website where individuals can help each other in their local community for free. So it's a way to use technology to efficiently match people, because we believe that everybody has skills.
Yep.
Some of them are soft skills that we underestimate or don't even, attribute to us having those skills, but we've all got those skills. And if we can efficiently connect people in a local neighborhood, they can help each other out, and that brings people closer together. There's lots of ripple effects.
Yep.
And that's what we're facilitating. The thing that makes us unique or special or interesting, in my view, is that all of the help that's given is given for free, which is super novel in the year 2018. It was also very, very novel in the year 2014. We don't live in a world where this type of thing happens anymore. It's one of those things that we look back on with nostalgia. But if we could, bring back community spirit in the digital age, that's what we are trying to do.
Do you think people do free stuff for each other informally still, or do you?
This is informally. This is quite informally. We think people do it, but it's done in a very limited circle.
Okay.
And that circle is getting increasingly smaller. So yes, we do things for our brother and sister, for our parents, to our partner, maybe some of our closest work colleagues or classmates. But that circle is getting ever closer.
Yeah, and the nature of community is changing, right?
Absolutely. So what Helpful Peeps is doing really is giving you access to more quote-unquote helpers, but also trying to make that circle larger for you, and that has plenty of health and mental health benefits as well.
So a book we talk about quite a lot on the podcast, I don't know if you've read it, but I'd certainly give it a read. It's a book by David Hamilton, The 5 Side Effects of Kindness. And David is awesome at explaining how actually just being good to other people is an incredibly selfish thing to do, because actually the health and well-being it provides you in terms of happiness and actually making you a healthier person is incredible. So I would certainly recommend you give that a read. It wasn't a question I sent you, but I'm just curious about it really. Do you think your heritage, your background from Sri Lanka and Japan had an impact on how you see society?
I'm not sure if it's specifically, but it's definitely given me, and I've been really fortunate enough to have travelled a lot.
Yeah.
So exposure to new cultures and looking at different people and the way they live life certainly gave me a broader perspective.
Yeah.
Because I think in certain cultures, certainly in Sri Lanka, it's still, it's like going back in time, right? In the UK. So you've got extended families living together, you've got like a support network that's already built in, and there's almost this unspoken thing where, you help a family member out and so on and so forth. And again, when I talk about the circle shrinking, that's shrinking because we no longer live in these extended families. Also because of, urbanization and people moving to towns and so on and so forth. If you've just moved to a new city and you're starting over, your circle is practically zero, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
And I think that's some of the challenges that we're trying to solve.
So I've been to Sri Lanka, funny enough. It was a few years ago, and the reason I asked about that is because I found it one of the friendliest places I've ever been to in the world. So it's certainly a real community feel, and certainly felt welcome. And I've not been to Japan yet, but I've actually booked my first trip for April next year, so I'm really looking forward to that. Fascinated by the culture in Japan, that sort of old and new and the combination, and it should be good fun. So how did you come up with the idea for Helpful Peeps?
So the idea, again, I think there were half a dozen contributing factors, but I remember very, very clearly around about 2014, 2013, around about that time, when the idea was sort of born, there was kind of headline news, I think it was like Daily Mail, but it was like headline news across the UK that Britain was the loneliest country in Europe,
Okay.
loneliness capital of Europe. So I remember that. But beyond that, between myself, my friends, my peers, we all kind of recognized that society was changing in such a way that we were becoming, more insular.
Yep.
Whether that's living in flats where you don't know your neighbors, whether it's being glued to your phone. And when you look at society and the trajectory that we're on, we're headed in a very clear trajectory, which is that with the likes of Deliveroo, Avocado, and you name it, Uber, you don't ever have to leave your house or interact with another human to live a quote-unquote fulfilling life anymore.
Okay.
Because at the press of a button, everything is done for you.
Yeah.
And it's optimized for efficiency, and it's called the quote-unquote sharing economy.
Yeah.
But your Uber driver is not your friend.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So
it's a commoditized society, isn't it? Everything's a commodity.
Yeah, and sharing, traditionally sharing is, if I've got, a piece of cake and I share that, I give you that piece of cake and I'm sharing that piece of cake with Chris. If I then cut that cake into two and then sell it to two separate people, then that's the sharing economy.
Yeah.
Right? So the marketing teams have done a great job with it, but it's not really sharing in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
And so one of the things with Helpful Peeps was, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we built a genuine sharing economy where we got people to share these skills, but also with people spending so much time on social media, looking at cat videos and the like, would it be great if people used that time to actually connect in the real world and, have these meaningful interactions rather than the transactional ones that we tend to have? We thought that'd be really cool. And that was kind of the birth of Helpful Peeps. It was originally called Barter.
Okay.
And people were going to barter skills with each other, and it started that way, and then it evolved over time to Helpful Peeps, where you just paid it forward because we felt barter is maybe a backward step.
Okay. Yeah.
It to be a forward step from where we were at the moment, and kind of an abundance mentality.
Yeah.
Whereas barter, it's got connotations with haggling and things of that nature. So we wanted to go forward, and Helpful Peeps kind of was born through a series of, evolutionary steps between sort of 2014 March to February 2015.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting point you make, because if you've got to swap something for something else in a sort of barter arrangement, that assumes there's a scarcity of resource, doesn't it? And the reality is, I'm a firm believer in there being abundant resource, and by the sounds of it, you are too. So it's really interesting. Do you think, social networks, especially recently, have got a lot of the bigger ones have got a decent amount of criticism? But do you think, and we debate on the Kindness Project quite a lot about whether technology and social networks have the power to be good. Do you think that's true? Do you think they have got the power to be good?
Absolutely. And we can interchange technology and social networks, right? Or the internet, right? And certainly it has the power to be good, and it has the power to be bad, right? And it's sort of it's a tool at our disposal, and it's down to individuals how they use it. But the fact that it exists is a good thing. So, social networks, just, a couple of things, Twitter and the Arab Spring, right? There's so many things so many good things, world-changing things that can happen with social media.
Great.
Network, and even things like crowdfunding, right? People's lives have been saved, and so all of these great things can happen, but equally, unless you're consciously using it, the tool takes over, and then there are a lot of clever people at places like Instagram and Facebook that engineer the product to kind of suck you in, and they monetize your eyeballs, right? A bit of conflict of interest there. So if you're kind of unconsciously using it, then it uses you. But certainly, in terms of a tool, it has the power to be more than good.
I suppose it's a movement back into sort of technology being used to be more human, right? As opposed to the other way around, and you sort of losing that soft touch. And I know on Helpful Peeps you talk about a karma score, so you've sort of gamified kindness, right? Help me understand how the karma score works.
Yeah, so when we launched Helpful Peeps, we called it Welcome to the Karma Economy.
Okay.
And we wanted to, the current economy is run by cash, I suppose, and we wanted Helpful Peeps to be a place where it was run on kindness. And we called it karma because through the nature of Helpful Peeps and paying it forward and not bartering and not having this direct exchange, the idea is that you help with no expectation of reward.
Yeah.
But there's an understanding that it's likely that you're going to get help as and when you need it at a point in the future.
Yeah.
Right? And that's very much this notion of, every action has an equal and opposite reaction of karma. So it's not really used in a religious context, but in very much a physics context.
Yeah.
So we like the idea of karma, and we thought, okay, a little bit of healthy competition in a world where everybody collects points, whether it's Avios points or Tesco Club points or Instagram likes or Twitter followers.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if people could have a bit of healthy competition around who's doing the most good?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that was kind of the idea behind the karma score, and at the moment it's highly unsophisticated in that you earn karma every time you help somebody else. You earn karma every time you invite somebody to Helpful Peeps, because that increases the pool of helpful people and therefore has a knock-on effect. But it's very unsophisticated in that regardless of whether you gave me a restaurant recommendation or helped me move house for 8 hours, you still get the same amount of karma.
Okay.
But as we go forward, we aim to make karma more sophisticated so that people get the right amount of karma. It's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
We want your karma score to reflect the actual contribution.
Okay.
Quite doing it just yet, but it will do in the future. And beyond that, we'd love to surprise and delight our members who have karma with things. So there's scope for us to have things like brand partnerships, and when people reach a certain karma milestone, maybe they get something.
Yeah.
We haven't quite figured everything out, but we know that there's huge potential for us to do something really cool with karma. And so all we tell our members is, hey, just keep collecting it. It's going to get real good someday.
So keep collecting it while we work out what to do with it, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, that raises an interesting point, because I suppose like the concept is incredible, and certainly sort of helping other people out just because it's the right thing to do sounds great. But gamifying that, as competitive humans, we all like. But how do you eat? So is there a business model behind Helpful Peeps, or is it just a project you love doing? How's it going to work?
Yeah, so we see ourselves as a tech startup on a social mission.
Yeah.
It's definitely a business.
Yeah.
We'd love for it to become a global business with millions and millions of users. But in terms of the commercialization, that's the tricky part. And I think at the moment, we have quite recently, about 2 months ago, we launched what we call patrons. And that's the first time in 3+ years where we've done anything, where we've actually created a mechanism where anybody could give us money.
Yeah.
And it came about because people would email in saying, hey, how can we support you guys?
Yeah.
And we have about 750 volunteers, what we call community champions, that help us promote Helpful Peeps in neighborhoods across the country. But people have also asked us, how can we help you guys financially?
Yeah.
So we launched patrons, and basically what that is a pay-as-you-feel donation.
Yeah.
And it's monthly, so we ask people to pass on a latte or a glass of wine or a pizza. So it's £3, £5, or £10 a month, and you become a Helpful Peeps patron, and you get a little patron badge next to your name. But that's it. Any special features or anything like that at the moment. But that's something that we rolled out a few months ago, and we've got a small cohort of members that are contributing regularly.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there. But that's all we've done to date. We're not really that interested in the advertising play.
Yeah.
Because, then you fall into the trap of, you need to monetize eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
What we want to do is to use tech to get people to connect in the real world.
Yeah.
rather than spending hours and hours on our platform.
Well, the driver changes, doesn't it, when you're looking at that sponsorship angle? But yeah, no, that's really interesting. So that was Saf from Helpful Peeps. We've got the other half of the interview next week. That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's a love song.
It's a love song, is it? Blue. Who's it about?
I don't know, it just sounds like a love song. And also there's a bit, it goes, you were red, I was red, you were blue. You turned me into a lilac sky and decided purple wasn't for you. And I just...
Oh, that's a great line. Who's that by?
Oh, I can't remember. I just love the song. It just makes me really emotional.
Who's it? So you don't know, is it from a show? Is it from a...
No, it's
just
not.
you've heard it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we started, sorry.
We've started.
Sorry.
But it's now the beginning of the end. It's the end. And we're going to have a really short ending this week because for the first time ever, nobody answered the question of the podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
No, like literally nobody. Like it's not like 5 comments or sort of like one comment or 2 comments. Like normally, like for the good ones, we get 30 odd comments. For the ones that just don't inspire people and they don't want to answer, we still get 1 or 2, and people go, okay, I'll try and answer this.
When did you post this?
I posted it this morning, so I may not have given it enough time to.
Not.
But usually, as soon as I post it, people go, right, okay, I'm gonna contribute. So I might be coming back to you next week, listeners, and saying, actually, I didn't give it enough time to.
Got billions of
With now people have thought about it, they're going to give it a go. But like, what's the scariest dream you've ever had? What's the weirdest dream you've ever had? People have avoided this one. Like the plague. They don't like this question. And if you don't know what the question was, it was, what's the weirdest thing you ate?
I remember us talking about this actually.
Yeah, but I think it's just one of those ones where people are going, I ain't telling you the weirdest thing I ate, leave off. And
It's also the weirdest thing I threw up.
oh, God. Yeah, I don't know whether that's the reason they're saying, like, they're not answering it. But I think we've got to go back to just, like, triviality, haven't we? Like Muppets and...
Clocks.
And
I like clocks, they're nice.
Clocks are good. I don't know why you started mentioning
I
clocks.
saw a clock on the wall and I was like,
Yeah.
that's a very nice clock.
We're recording this in our office, Which is above a library, and the clock says, read.
You know, there's like... Let's talk about words that are like read. So there's 2 different types of read. You can read a book and you can pick up.
Are you just filling because we've got no answer to the
Well, think
podcast?
of more words that are like that then.
Well, sorry, are we just gonna
Yes.
like have a bit of a random introduction at the end of the podcast because we haven't got enough content to cover the podcast? Why don't we just end it right here?
It's boring.
It's fine. People have had their fill. They've had plenty of content from us this week. Next week, maybe our listeners can contribute a bit more and we'll have a better question.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And on that note, listeners, apologies
We apologise.
for having no content.
I did try and make more content.
It's actually your fault, listeners, because you
Don't blame them.
You didn't answer the question. But until next week, we'll see you later.
Bye.